What's happening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with yours, Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, I am him. So, Nick Saban shocked the sports world and college football world when he abruptly retired from college football. And there was much speculation about his departure, basically centering around his despise or dismay with the NIL and specifically college players being paid. While there was no proof of that up until March 6th, at least, there was no proof of that. It was pretty safe to say that the changing landscape of college sports is what caused Nick Saban to, at the very least, reevaluate or reassess his position in college football. So on March 6th, Nick Saban gave an interview where he said that, so I'm saying to myself, maybe this doesn't work for me anymore in regards to the NIL, to players being paid, to the transfer portal, and that the goals and aspirations are just different and that it's all about how much money can I make as a college player. He goes on to say he's not saying it's a bad thing. He's not saying that's wrong. He's just saying that's never been what Alabama or we were all about. And it's pretty funny to hear the hunter complain when the rabbits got the gun. It's pretty funny to hear a guy who was the richest man in the state complain about other people wanting to be rewarded for their services. It's pretty funny to me to listen to a man complain about how he was rewarded for other players' talent or for his players' talent, and now his players want to be rewarded for their talent. And look, Saban is one of the greatest coaches in modern day sports, greatest coaches of all time in sports. So I've got no beef with him individually. I've got my issue lands with the notion that somehow players wanting to be paid is a bad thing. My issue rises to the fact that they come to him like men and say, look, what can we do with playing time? And he can say, I'm not guaranteeing playing time, but if you play hard and you do the right things, you'll play. But players wanting to take the politics out of college football then all of a sudden made it uncomfortable for guys like Nick Saban. So he decided to leave. And his 70-year-old self was no longer able to acclimate successfully or believe he could acclimate himself successfully to the new landscape of 20-year-olds coming in. And nothing made me feel better than a news report that came out maybe 2 days ago that stated college basketball, which was hurting, which was basically reeling men's college basketball, while women's college basketball was thriving, men's college basketball was hurting. And they've decided to implement a tournament in Vegas where 8 teams will receive $1 million apiece to participate in this tournament, and the winner will get an additional $1 million bonus. So 8 college basketball teams will truck to Vegas in the middle of the season for a basketball tournament, and each of those 8 teams will receive $1 million apiece. Not the university, not the coaches, not the ADs, not the handlers, not the AAU cats, the players. And at first I thought to myself, man, I wonder what the going rate's going to be for point shaving. And if you take a step back and think, is this a good thing? And yes, it is. Because now you're finally going to have the players getting an opportunity to be rewarded for their talent instead of rewarding someone else for their talent. Meaning, players are going to be able to earn money while playing basketball in college. So what does that mean? How will that affect? Well, as an NBA fan, what that'll mean is the G League, specifically the Ignite, will no longer be appealing to a guy. He'll go to college. He'll get coached. He'll have an opportunity to travel in first class stay in the first class 5-star hotels, private jets, all those things that come to these top scale universities. And in turn, we'll get great college basketball again. And holy jeepers, that means we won't have guys going into the NBA who aren't ready to play in the NBA. That means we'll no longer have the guy in Europe, Slovakia, with the gas station surveillance footage, the only camera that we get to see of this guy we never heard of being picked first. We'll no longer have guys that Steve Clifford, the coach of the Charlotte Hornets. You know Charlotte Hornets, one of the worst teams in the NBA, eventually one of the worst teams in the NBA, who boast Mr. Beast as their team logo on their jerseys. Steve Clifford said the NBA is full of guys that they have to play. Coaches have to play because the team drafted them 6th, 7th, and 8th. And they don't want to say, gee, we might have made a mistake. So they have to play this 23-year-old, and it's costing coaches, scouts, the player development guys their jobs. You look no further than Markelle Fultz in Philadelphia, or Ben Simmons in Philadelphia, or Jahlil Okafor in Philadelphia, where you've had a mixture of guys that were drafted that weren't ready to play in the NBA. You had a mixture of scouts who weren't tough enough or didn't have the cachet to stand up to a general manager who didn't know what he was doing, whether it be Brian Colangelo or Sam Hinkie. Now you're going to get players who are going to stay in college for 2, maybe 3 years because financially they're being rewarded. Caleb, USC quarterback, Caleb Williams, decides, if I don't like where I'm going to be drafted, I'll just go back into college. I'm making 10 mil, got a dope little penthouse in downtown LA. Life is good in Harlem. I'll go back to college if I don't like where I'm going. And that scares guys like Nick Saban. That scares the old fogies. The guys that wear business casual clothes for no reason. The guys that wear khakis, that don't own a slap, don't own a pair of denim in their life, but that make 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, $50 million a year off the back of young men who, in all intents and purposes, wouldn't even get a shot at these top flight universities. I saw a phrase in the comment section when Saban announced his retirement. Someone said it was no fun when the rabbit had the gun. And I opened that up in the opening of the podcast because it's so true. Now these players, and we're seeing it in the WNBA or in women's basketball, where the competitive advantage has grown so much because these young ladies are rewarded off the court through NIL deals that have made them superstars and made them household names. So you're tuning in to watch them play. You're watching Caitlin Clark in a State Farm commercial next to Jimmy Butler and Reggie Miller. Are you kidding me? That's what it should be about. I don't even know the head coach of Iowa's name. I don't even know her name. And quite frankly, it's inconsequential because once Caitlin Clark leaves, we won't know her name. She may win 20, 25 games again, but she won't have that type of talent. And that type of talent should be rewarded for carrying that state on its back. When's the last time anyone was checking for the Iowa Hawkeyes? I'll wait. I'm still waiting. When was the last time anyone was going to the state of Alabama to have fun? Exactly. Players go to Alabama to play football. It's the only reason they're going down. So if Nick Saban can't guarantee them time and can't pay them what USC can pay them, or even a half of what USC can pay them, why the hell would they want to be in Alabama? It's one of the poorest states in the union. I'm not going to rip the state of Alabama. Let's just say that Alabama gives you enough reasons to hate them, far more than they give you enough reasons to love them. So why would you want to go there to play football? And if you can play football someplace else and make money and have fun and not be called out of your name, not have your manhood questioned, and be more than just a jersey number, why would you not take advantage of that? And the lights of the players having power scares the guys like Nick Saban. Scares so many coaches. But you know who doesn't scare? Coaches like Deion Sanders. You know who doesn't scare? Coaches like Dawn Stanley. People who not only just played the game, because that says something to me. I feel like players make the best coaches. While there have been good coaches that haven't played the game at the highest level, 9 times out of 10, your best coaches are going to be players. And the reason being is because they have an innate ability to channel into those moments that we don't know, that we as mere mortals don't understand. But I don't think they're the best talent evaluators. That's a whole nother story. But that's why you see so many players or so many coaches who've never played the game losing their mind every time something doesn't go their way. And now the fact that they have to actually talk to these young men like people or lose them scares the bejesus out of them. Think back to Tom Coughlin. We always talk about discipline. Tom Coughlin, former New York Giants head coach, he was general manager of Giants. Discipline, man, discipline. Every time a play didn't go his way, he was screaming, turning fire engine red, and ripping his headphones off. So it's okay for him to lose control. It's okay for Bill Belichick to lose control. It's okay for Nick Saban to lose control. But it's not okay for his players to lose control. It's never okay for the players. The players have to be walking, isolated, emotionless people here every game in, play out. Not anymore. And I love it. I love the idea of 8 teams going to Vegas and 16 in 2025 with not just $1 million on the line, but already walking in with $1 million, already getting free travel, already getting free room and board, being rewarded for their hard work, being rewarded for not being able to be a regular college student, being rewarded for all the parties and clubs and girls that they miss out on. And yes, I know athletes have a beautiful life, at least it appears to the outside. But I often say this. Close your eyes and imagine for a minute that everyone around you has only been around you because you can do something for them. No one around you chose you. They chose the fame, they chose the money, they chose the celebrity. Very few people around these kids choose them. So now they get to reap the benefits of that. And you'll have isolated instances where players act a fool, they'll blow their money. You have guys showing up to campus in Ferraris. That's going to happen because you're dealing with young people. But you'll also have a better professional product because the amateur product is being treated the way they should be treated. They're being rewarded the way they should be rewarded. They're getting compensation the way they should be compensated. And that is something to be excited about. So I didn't know how I felt when I initially saw that story, but now I know how I feel. It's jubilation. I'm going to be tuned into men's college basketball. The Final Four will mean something because now you'll have guys being paid even more. You'll have guys not having to go into the NBA who aren't ready, or GMs being forced to draft guys who aren't good. Your favorite professional team won't have an albatross of a bad player wrapped around their neck that they've got to play for 4 years. You'll have guys that play more than 2 games, like the James Wisemans of the world, and then get drafted and then get bounced around the league and eventually get thrown out of the league. We'll have more American-born players playing in the NBA, which excites me. We'll have better college football players playing in the NFL. Therefore, we'll have better NFL products. We'll have better NFL quarterbacks. We'll have better NFL coaches because what's coming out is better. Why? Because they're not being forced to come out. They're choosing to come out. They're leaving money on the table to pursue a dream. That's a novel idea. There's an old African proverb, and I believe that I want to make sure I don't mess it up here. It goes something like, once the lion has the gun. I want to make sure I have it right here. But it's an old African proverb that I want to end the show with, and it's until the lion tells a story, the hunter will always be the hero. And I find that apropos in this one because now the lions are able to talk. And the guys that have reaped the benefits of hunting these players in their neighborhoods and taking them out of their neighborhoods and forcing them to be acclimated to a world that they would no longer be. They in all intents and purposes, aren't welcomed in. Now that's changed. And now the hunter has to adjust to the jungle. And it's a beautiful thing. That's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, do whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. And until next time, we appreciate your time here. You be easy.